What if I told you a single-aisle jet changed the way I think about long-haul flying? Not a hulking twin-aisle with cavernous cargo bays, just a lean, efficient airplane that slips into routes nobody thought a narrow-body could own. I still remember the date that locked this idea in my head, June 15th, 2022. I watched an Airbus test bird lift off for a quiet 4.5-hour loop over Europe. To most eyes, it looked like any A321. To me, it felt like a trap being sprung. Years of chess moves culminating in a jet designed to punch way above its weight. The A321 XLR. I didn't believe it at first. Another variant, I told myself, but the more I followed it, the more obvious it became. This wasn't a cosmetic upgrade, this was a power shift, a single aisle reaching deep into wide-body territory with trip costs that made my spreadsheets smile. I wanted to know how Airbus got here, so I rewound the tape. I grew up on stories of skinny jets crossing oceans, the 707s and DC-8s hopping the Atlantic like it was nothing. Then the giants arrived. 747s, TriStars, DC-10s, two aisles, vast bellies, romance and range wrapped in aluminum. Airbus showed up with the A300 and learned fast. But the move that stuck with me happened in 1984, the A320. Fly-by-wire, common cockpits, a platform built to stretch, re-engine, and multiply. For years it felt like boring efficiency. Then fuel prices climbed, emissions pressure mounted, and the boring family became a money machine. I watched the A320neo land orders like clockwork. 1% here, 2% there. On an airline P&L, that's real cash. Then came the first hint of something bigger. The A321LR showed up and almost sheepishly started hopping the Atlantic. Same footprint, 3 extra center tanks, ETOPS sign-off, about 4,000 nautical miles in the bag. Suddenly I was tracking flights from secondary European cities to the US East Coast and thinking, wait, we don't need a wide body for that anymore? But I also saw the pain in the ops notes. Those extra tanks ate cargo space. On windy days, the trade-offs got ugly. Cap passengers, offload bags, punt freight, or add a fuel stop and watch the economics crumble. The LR proved the distance. It didn't always protect the dollars. That's when the XLR started to make sense to me. Airbus didn't just strap on more tanks. They integrated a rear center tank into the structure. One permanent, highly efficient tank instead of a jumble of removable boxes. Weight where it counts, space where I need it. Suddenly my belly cargo came back without sacrificing range. On a route map that opens hundreds of city pairs, on a balance sheet that removes the LR's worst either-or headaches. I could feel fleet planners exhale. I watched the first movers like a hawk. Iberia took the keys and did exactly what I would have done. Start where the airplane is strongest. Long and thin routes that don't need 280 seats in February but can't survive a winter gap. You keep the non-stop alive year-round, fatten it in summer with a wide body, then down-gauge to the XLR when the leaves fall. That's not just flying smarter, that's protecting market share and corporate contracts without hemorrhaging cash in the off-season. Then Aer Lingus leaned in, and I understood the network magic. Dublin is a launch pad, US pre-clearance, great geography, steady mix of business and VFR traffic. I watched them stitch mid-size American cities to Ireland on a single aisle and thought, this is exactly what the 757 used to do, only cleaner and cheaper. Reviews started trickling back. Airspace cabin, bigger bins, quiet ride, business class suites that look like they belong on a wide body, economy that feels familiar. It wasn't luxury for luxury's sake, it was competence that made the non-stop worth it. In the US, Americans play made me grin. You start high stakes and domestic, premium transcon. Replace an aging cabin with a modern suite, train crews, bank reliability, and earn the right to go long haul when the timing's right. Meanwhile, in Asia, Indigo circled dates and targets that would have been fantasy a decade ago. Low cost, long thin sectors into Europe and Central Asia. Different business models, same airframe. All chasing the same prize. Profitable nonstops that didn't exist before. The economics are what hooked me. On the routes I call stretch threads, big mileage but modest daily volume, the XLR's trip cost is a hammer. I don't need 300 seats to make the numbers work. I don't need wide-body gates or turn times. I don't have to dump fares just to fill a monster on a Tuesday in March. And because the integrated tank gives back most of the belly, I still lift meaningful cargo. The pandemic taught me to respect downstairs revenue. Even as yields normalized, the memory stuck. Belly cash keeps marginal routes alive. The LR often made me choose. The XLR lets me have both. I'm not blind to the hard questions. The integrated tank sits near the crush zone. Regulators wanted proof that a gear-up landing stays survivable. Airbus beefed up the fairings, ran the tests, documented the worst days as if they'd already happened. It added months. It didn't break the airplane. When the certification came through and the first flight started earning money, I stopped worrying about the calendar and started watching fuel flow and completion factors. And those are what I want them to be. What really made me sit back was the strategic angle. Airbus didn't try to knock out the 787 or A350. They went for the gap the 757 left behind and built a 21st century version with A320 family commonality. That matters. Pilots transition faster. Mechanics already speak the language. Parts pipelines exist. Training and tooling drop in. Development risk stays sane while the network effect explodes. If you've ever tried to justify a clean sheet airplane without engine tech to back it, you know why that matters. I hear the same question in every meeting. Will single aisles replace wide bodies on long haul? Number. When demand is huge or cargo is king, big twins will always rule. New York-London wants frequency, belly, and premium density you can't fake. Between the flagships, the hundreds of city pairs just beneath the marquee routes, the XLR flips the script. I can run a nonstop where a wide body was always too much airplane. I can hold that route year-round. I can protect my brand without bleeding through winter. From the passenger side, I've watched the mindset shift in real time. For years, long haul equals wide body lived in people's heads. Then folks flew 9 hours on a quiet, modern single aisle with a proper business suite and solid IFE, and that idea cracked. The new mental model is simple. Give me the right seat and a nonstop, and I won't count aisles. That permission is priceless. It lets me stitch new dots on the map without asking customers to suffer through hub purgatory. Airports feel the shift too. Plenty of fields can't easily handle wide bodies. Stands, bridges, custom staffing, yet they can take an A321 tomorrow. International service without concrete pours? That's a civic win disguised as a schedule change. Local hotels, taxis, exporters, every one of them feels it when a nonstop appears where there wasn't one last year. So, where does this go next? I see two paths running in parallel. Airbus keeps polishing, cabin tweaks, aero cleanups, engine performance packages. The rumor mill will never stop about a stretch or hotter engines, but honestly, they don't need a miracle to keep winning. The base case is already strong. Boeing will eventually move. The market demands it, but clean sheets need engine cycles, and engine cycles don't happen overnight. Meanwhile, airlines aren't waiting. They're putting XLRS to work, building muscle memory on routes that were PowerPoint slides not long ago. Do I think this kills the hub and spoke model? Number. It loosens its grip. Hubs still aggregate massive flows, but more passengers will slip past them on point-to-point lines that make better sense for their day. That's healthier for the whole system. It spreads demand, reduces missed connections, and gives me options when a storm chokes a mega hub. Flexibility is resilience, and the XLR buys me both. Here's what I know after watching this airplane go from slide deck to scheduled service. 1 aisle, 2 engines, almost 4,700 nautical miles in reach. A cabin that can be genuinely premium up front and perfectly fine in the back. Belly space I can actually use, and trip costs that make routes live through winter instead of blinking out until June. That's not a footnote in fleet planning, that's a strategic lever. If you asked me to pick one airplane that quietly outsmarted the field this decade, I'd point to this one. Not because it's the biggest, flashiest, or most futuristic, but because it exploited a gap, respected the math, and taught the market to stop equating long haul with wide body. The first time I watched that test flight circle Europe, I thought I was seeing an incremental tweak. Now, every time I see an A321 XLR taxi out for a 9-hour hop to a city that never had a nonstop before, I feel like I'm watching a new map being drawn. One thin, efficient line at a time. And if you're asking me what I'd do with it tomorrow, I'd open the route I've wanted for years, the one planners kept calling nice idea, wrong airplane. I'd prove it works in July, keep it alive in November, and never give it back. That's what this jet unlocks for me. That's why I can't stop watching it.